This is the American Slate Clock. I'm going to start taking the movement to pieces. I've taken the front section off, removed the hands. This looks quite tidy. Put the hands in the respective little bin. I was able to remove from the back the cock, pallet cock, because the mechanism was already wound right down. So that's can be seen. I've now got to release the strike mechanism. So that I can take the spring out without it taking charge. Right, so that's done. Most essential. Now I can start to take it. This goes into the front. Comes out. Oh, this can come off. This can come off. There's nothing on it to mark anything important. This comes off. This is nicely in time with the strike. Should be able to sprinkle that off. There we are. Right, so that's that bit taken off there. The little triggers which tells it when to strike and when to, for the hour or for the half hour. Now what I've got to make sure is that I know where this pallet pin there is in respect to this one here, which releases the lever here, which strikes on the star wheel, and that is quite important. This here is also, this warning pin here, warning wheel, is relevant. So what I've got to try and do when I put it together is to get this lever here between the two stars, right, which has a spring on it. This is the spring which works that one, and this is the spring that works the strike, so that when it's striking, everything works in sequence. If this is out of sequence and it's up here, then it won't work. And if this detent here, this one here, doesn't get in the right place, then it jams and it only strikes one on the hour and the half hour. It doesn't matter if it's 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. It means you've got to take it to pieces and put that back in the place where it belongs. I'll probably try and avoid taking this out, but if I can remember that is at 12 o'clock, virtually 11 o'clock, and this is over here at 10 o'clock. But if it's the wrong way around, it's upsetting. So, having made a note of those, so you've got this one, that one, the warning pin, the pallet pin, and the strike lever there has to be between these stars there. Then everything falls into place, and that spring has got to go on the inside of that detent there, and this spring has got to go on the outside. And this one operates from that star wheel, and this one operates this little jobby here, and that's operated by this lever here. So it's all the way it is. Anyway, there we are. So I'll start taking to pieces now. Pins out. Right. Washer. The rack there. And a washer underneath. A washer underneath. Mustn't forget that. Otherwise I'll be in difficulty. Oh, that's useful. Now, this screw here adjusts the anchor that goes onto the escape wheel, so I can move that up and down, so I can adjust the anchor on the escape wheel to get the distance right. And this one here means that I can take this out, which means that I can move this, possibly, not quite independently, but more easily, to try and line it up with the pins there, which may be useful later on, but I'll leave it as it is at the moment. Okay, so I've had a look at the pivots and the pinions, not the pivots in here, and they all look at first glance as if there's no need for any bushings. They don't seem to be wobbling unduly. They all seem to be quite tight. They've got to be free to move, and they've got to have enough shake to be able to go backwards and forwards, so that they're free in their on their bearing. Okay, so I'll take these off now. Let's get this around the right way. A set of these spanners are absolutely invaluable. You're fiddling around with a pair of pliers or tweezers or something like that to get nuts off, and particularly when you come to put it together again, you need to have these nuts on and just gradually increase the pressure as you go. I always put them together so that they start at the back and work forward. But, well, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but that's the way I do it. And then gradually you put a little bit more torque on the pins. Okay, so now that's, yeah, I've got strike on this side, time here, and let's lift this up slowly. Right, so I've got that spring there, and the other one's fixed on to the other one. So this is for the lifting hammer. There it is. So that goes into strike That's what goes into the star wheel. Right, so now as is my habit, I will mark them in a way that I can identify them. It's time. This is time. Alright, this one take out first. This is number 2 wheel. This is number 3, main arbor. Number 4. Right. That's right. Number 5. And that's the escape wheel. Look how dirty that is. Really, really quite grubsy. These are the the trundles, so that if you strip those, because for one reason or another the spring runs loose or something like that, you can put new little steel rods in there. That's quite easy. But if you strip the leaf ones on the traditional clocks in the English and French style, you virtually have to have a new wheel, and that's a real headache. Okay, now then this is strike. It's unusual. Usually this is on the other side. Let's see how dirty that is. So that's going to be quite an exercise to get that all tidied up. So this is 4. Came from there, didn't it? This is 5. And this is strike. If you get in the habit of doing that when you're a novice, it helps you put them together, and you mark the face so that you know which way round they go, top and bottom, and you're working from lifting the front plate up. You work on the back plate, and so when you ever look at these, the bits that you picked up, you know they come from strike because you put a different mark on them, and then they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they fall in place. And it's the way I do it, because I'm not sufficiently experienced to be able to say at a glance, this is where it should go, and that's the way it should go. Now, we've got the hammer. I can't do much about that. I might try and take it off in a minute. Now I've got a clear run, but it's just a square hole with this in, and it's been really seated very firmly. And the spring will stay where it is. You don't want them to come out, but all they've got is a nip on the end to stop them turning round. So it's round spring with a flattened end which goes into the plate. Usually these are brass, but they're steel here in this case. Well, that's very interesting. Okay, so I will next get on and clean them.